comes from beyond time, from beyond the outer limits of your imagination, and he's ready to blow your mind.
We are now more than halfway done with Traumathon. How you guys liking it so far? Doing good? Doing great? Awesome. Anyways, as per previous Traumathon entries, I thought that we would take a look at some of the user suggestions that you guys have given me, some that I can't really cover because either there's not enough information or just because it's very specific to the people who send it to me. Either way, I still want to take a look at them, and because we're a little bit behind on some Traumathon entries, you might see some double features here and there, or maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Either way, if you haven't sent a suggestion so far, please put it down in the community post that I posted this morning as of this recording. And if you already sent a suggestion through email or on the subreddit, then there's no need to post it again. Alright, let's get started with the first suggestion. Alright, first one up is by Clover. Okay, I don't think this is a common one, but the rhino from James and the Giant Peach, it was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid, but the rhino scared the shit out of me. He came out of the thunderstorm clouds and was surrounded by lightning and took James's happy family away, making him having to live with his abusive aunts and work all day. I think the setting also scared me too, and it only added into the rhino fear. Everything was so crowded and small. James's home was on the tiny hill, on an island near the sea, damn near toppling, and a narrow, spiraling walkway that went seemingly nowhere. Everything was so close and gloomy. His house always made me anxious. It honestly still kind of does. It made me think that if the evil rhino came out of the thunderstorm, I'd have nowhere to run and just have to accept my terrible future of abuse and hard labor and eating chips from the garbage can. I always had to close my eyes whenever the thing came on screen, especially when James was confronting it in the sky and was scared of the thunderstorms for a while. This is actually way more common than you think. I had a lot of people, not audience members, but just people in my life tell me about that scene and how it scared them. A lot of people are surprisingly scared by that rhino scene. And I know I have a bit of a fucked up kind of like taste when it comes to things that I'm scared of and things that I'm not scared of, but that rhino scene, it looks super cool. I thought it was awesome as hell, but I can see how it's very terrifying to a little kid, especially because some of the people that told me that this was scary to them can sort of relate, because I had 2 or 3 friends that told me that they can relate to James as a character because they also had their parents taken away very suddenly. And only one of those friends actually was, you know, with a family member that was very abusive, and it's sort of one of the reasons why she hates that movie, because she relates to it so much. But yeah, no, I do think so much of James and the Giant Peach is so whimsical. I don't know if it's directed by Tim Burton, but it's very whimsical and dark, kind of gothic. I loved it a lot as a kid. I think the Giant Peach concept is always awesome. The fact that they could just take bits and pieces of the peach and just eat it whenever they want. I know realistically, when you think of it, it's gross as shit, especially with all the bugs laying around, but I personally loved it all the same, and I had abusive parents. But yeah, actually in some regards, I think I wanted the rhino to appear. That's fucked up, I know, but hey, that's just how I grew up. I do think there's something haunting about the fact that you don't see what the rhino does, like, at all. It's part of the whimsy of it that there's just this rhino that appears and takes away his family, which I'm assuming is more of a metaphor of like what really happened to his mom and dad, which is like a coping mechanism. A lot of kids use that kind of like imagination to cope with how they lost a family member or with death, because it's such a new concept to them, they can't really understand. Many kids actually play with their toys and reenact their parents' death sometimes through those toys. I know it sounds weird, but it's true. So the rhino is more emblematic of what happened to James's parents and his grief over it than it is of what actually happened. And him conquering it over the end of the film is just him growing up, really. I mean, we could pretend it really is a giant rhino, but hey, either way, I love the film. I understand the rhino scene completely. I wasn't personally scared by it, but I completely get it. And yeah, thank you for the suggestion. The next is from, well, actually multiple users. I had a few users tell me that there were some MLP shorts back in the day that were very infamous amongst the MLP community. And there were basically bait and switches, like they were very well animated shorts, and you know what I'm talking about. If you were around, you know, that era of animation, you know that the specific animations that scarred these people for life were these videos and this series of videos made by Hot Diggity Demon. The other one I just briefly mentioned were made by Mr. Davey, who was an animator on Newgrounds and uploaded a ton of his animations on YouTube too, but seemingly disappeared off the face of the internet forever. Interestingly, nobody really knows much about Mr. Davey. He has claimed to work for Cartoon Network and Hasbro before, but a lot of people are very skeptical about that, and honestly, it's probably not true. I think most of us have seen them. I mean, they have millions and millions of views. It'd be kind of hard to believe that you've never seen them, but yeah, apparently this were really scary for some people. Like, I've gotten this suggested, I think, last year too, but I never really could find a reason to dedicate a whole episode around these videos. I just think they're just shocking and gory. Sort of the same reason like people thought Happy Tree Friends was scary. It's got that very cuddly vibe and very like nice and wholesome kind of warm feeling, and then like fucking gore and death and blood, and it's just it's so disgusting. The Dot Move videos, by the way, are fucking just rancid. Like it is rancid. Everything that makes humans horrible, it is there in those movies. I love them. Again, it's one of those things where I don't think I can show much of the videos because I think this will get age restricted. So I'm not going to show, you know, exactly how horrible they can be, but it can get really bad. But it's so good. It is so great. I can see how some people got fucking nightmares, especially if you were around the age range of like MLP, you know, the sort of audience that they were targeting, and not like a 20-year-old, 30-year-old. Because I think at the time these were very offensive. I do remember some controversy around the brony community. Not that I was a fucking brony or anything, but these motherfuckers talk all the time. They were so mad that these existed that they were like trying to petition these movies from getting taken down or something like that. But the thing is that the more you push back, the more people are willing to make this sort of content. So it kind of backfired on them, and well, we got what we got. I love these though. I don't care. They're so good. Here's another email. Assuming I read the community post correctly, I have a couple of suggestions for Traumathon 4. I don't think these would be enough for a standalone video, but I thought I could throw some stuff out there. One thing that scared me shitless as a kid was the Discovery Channel, I think, fake documentary about mermaids/merfolk. I think Discovery had this whole series of docs about mythological creatures. Pretty sure they had a dragon one. The CG now looks pretty bad, but as a little kid, I believed it as the truth. I'm not sure what year I saw this, but I would assume somewhere between 2010 to 2012. I would have been around 7 to 8. And don't quote me, I'm bad with dates. The documentary was played off so straight and serious that gullible me 100% believed aquatic humans are real and exist. That is adorable. The way the merfolk looked freaked me out. They were these deep blue with more fishy characteristics, so not Little Mermaid stuff. Oh god. But what absolutely haunted me were the sounds they made. It was these weird ghostly moans, like the uncanny valley of sound. I legit had nightmares about these things and that one was gonna grab me. Like in the beginning of the doc where those two young boys are walking on the beach and they see a washed up mermaid thinking she's dead, but she grabs onto one of them. Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you for the suggestion. Okay, so this was a hard one. And fuck me. I should actually just make a whole Traumathon entry on fake documentaries that Discovery Channel and History Channel and Animal Planet have all made up, because when I researched into this, just a brief amount of research that I did, there were a lot of fucking fake mermaid documentaries. Like, it is crazy how many fake mermaid documentaries there are. Well, not even fake, it's like some of they just like interview crazy people. Like crazy, and they show like absolutely fake like cannot be denied. These are fake doctored videos, and they're like, that is absolutely real. You know, mermaids, they're so fucking carnivorous, they can absolutely do this shit. And it's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And what I love about some of these mermaid depictions is that they're not, it's like the email said, they're not like Little Mermaid. You know, the way they depict mermaids is like monsters, like straight up merfolk from like Magic the Gathering. Even the Magic the Gathering ones are like prettier than these. They're like horrifying. I kind of like it, dude. Why haven't we made like a horror movie about mer people? Fuck Jaws. Fuck Jaws. I want to see a mermaid fuck up some people. Okay, so I looked it up. Yes, there are mermaid horror films, but they're not exactly what I'm talking about. They're like half ghost, half witchcraft, half zombie film, like mermaid. That's not what I'm talking about. I want like straight up mermaids murdering motherfuckers. Murders. Also, some of these films suck. Well, at any rate, I'm getting off topic here. I think maybe someday I'll talk more in depth about it. I think there's more interesting stuff. And also just fake documentaries in general made by Animal Planet, Discovery, History Channel, blah, blah, blah. I think they're all really well done. Obviously very fake, but still pretty freaky in their own right. But probably not this year in Traumathon. It's just so much. And I've only just discovered them after reading this email. So yeah, we're just gonna have to hold off on that. Thank you for the entry though. This is wonderful. I loved it. Another one that was suggested by multiple users was the Never-Ending Story quicksand scene, which I'm not gonna spoil. If you haven't watched the Never-Ending Story before, highly recommend it. Really love it. Full of magical kid-like charm. I absolutely loved the movie when I was a kid. So, spoiler warning. Watch it if you haven't. Come back. Anyways, it's the one scene where Atreyu and Artax are going through the Swamp of Sadness. And the thing about the Swamp of Sadness is that if you're ever caught depressed or just incredibly sad in general in the Swamp of Sadness, you will begin to sink into the Swamp of Sadness. And at this point, the movie makes you kind of think that Atreyu is the one that's going to sink into the Swamp of Sadness, but no, it's actually his horse, Artax, that begins to sink into the Swamp of Sadness. And you know, I've had some people tell me it's a really scary scene, but I've also seen a lot of people say it's a very sad scene, and to me it was always horribly sad. Like, I love this movie so much. It's just such a fairy tale like movie, and the idea of a horse getting so depressed that it just wants to give up on its adventure. Jesus Christ, that is so sad by itself. And this isn't one of those, you know, happy fairy tales where everything's so happy and nice and he just comes out of it alive. No, Artax sinks, and that's it. Someone actually described this scene as like the perfect metaphor and allegory for depression and suicide, and yeah, it really is. And that's what the whole point of the Swamp of Sadness is, that you try to trek on and you try to just move forward, but sometimes you just sink and you just can't get out. Yeah, as a kid, I think it's very scary, right? Because you don't understand what depression is or even what sadness really is. You just know it as a sort of pain, but not really as something that can affect you. As an adult, this scene cuts so deep. Like, really it does. Like, even thinking about it, I gotta hold back tears, because like it reminds me of so many people that I know personally. It's just sad for me. I'm fucking about to tear up. It is sad for me more than it is scary. I guess that's why I never really wanted to talk about it. I think there's too many people that say it's scary and too many people that say that it's, you know, sad. It's just conflicting feelings. I can never really make a whole entry out of it. So also, side note, this is a book, so apparently Artax can talk in the book, and what he says is really fucking depressing. So if you really want to be sad today, read the book. All right, well, we just about rounded up most of the suggestions that I had previously that couldn't be made into one whole video. Check back tomorrow and I'll talk more about your suggestions that I just couldn't cover.